How's it going, guys? Noise Era, Freedom Faction here, and you've tuned into another episode of Crisis Corner. And in this one, we're going to be going over Project Black Gold. And bear with me on it, because there's going to be a lot that we're doing. We're going to be jumping all over the place. And the idea behind it is that they've created this substance, this goo, this ooze, this oil, which can essentially act as its own, a liquid which has its own consciousness, something that will rewrite the genetic code of what it means to be human. Last year, I talked to you guys about all kinds of different things as far as transhumanism, genetic modification, or even eugenics. We talked about CRISPR-Cas9, which is the commercial level of bioengineering. You can buy this, and I think it's at, over $300 or so. Yes, that's right. You can go out and purchase a genetic modification product. They already have 3D printed organs that just have your trace amounts of DNA, and they rewrite it and they grow from it. This Project Black Gold, this is something where they talk about rewriting the entire human code entirely. I talked to you guys about the Foundry, which is the DARPA's version of Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. They've already admitted to genetic splicing and the merging of human and animal DNA. We have psychic robots, and I know this isn't as far as DNA and biology, but what I'm doing here with this particular episode, I intend to try to give you guys an idea of one of the projects that's in the background of everything. We think of it as some kind of ooze, but what if it has its own purpose? What if it's here to replace mankind? What if it has? And I know it sounds wild, but just come on this ride with me. I have a few things that I want to take a look at in this episode that I'll try to hit on. One of them being the fact that we're able to rewrite DNA, and that they're trying to create a new race within a race, and the fact that it seems like our Earth is being terraformed. That's right. And that's probably why everything feels so alien and strange these days. With that being said, let's jump right into it, guys. Welcome to another edition of Crisis Corner. Back in October of 2015, this article popped up. Researchers performed the first surgery on the human genome. And it goes like this. Ever since the human genome was mapped out in 2001, scientists have been finding out new and novel ways to manipulate it, intervening to remove offending genes or DNA sequences that can contribute to disease, and fixing mutations that can affect people's health. That's the idea, or at least that's a public thing that they're trying to tell for you. And that's fantastic, that's great that they're trying to actually fix these diseases so we can quote unquote be perfect. But what they're also saying is right now we're flawed in our current state, and these scientists, these people that have the capabilities, these technocrats, are the only ones that can help us. And as far as they think, they're the gods. They're the ones that should help us. As remarkable as those advances have been, however, they have only occurred on one dimension, the linear sequence of DNA. Now, scientists report in the proceedings of a National Academy of Sciences their success in manipulating the human genome in 3D. Okay, and I want to try to get that in your guys' mind. The fact that they're trying to map the human genome, or at least all the DNA sequences that could be considered human, the DNA bases, they're trying to create an entire archive of information which describes the human genome. Okay, for them to have a basic understanding of every single genetic marker that makes us up allows for them to kind of rewrite the code. And the reason I'm trying to give you guys a factual basis on what they're actually doing, or at least what Erez Lieberman-Eiden, the director of the Center for Genome Architecture of Baylor College in Medicine and Rice University, and his colleagues describe how DNA performs the shrinking act. It turns out that there is a sequence in the genome, a DNA word, that signals when a long string of DNA should turn and form a loop. The end of a loop is signaled by the same word, but in reverse, a mirror image of the original. Okay, I want to show you guys that there's factual basis for them trying to figure out the genetic code. And once they're able to do this, then they can start mimicking, they can start experimenting, they can start growing. I have a few examples I want to show you guys that gives a Hollywood theatrical view as far as what this programmable matter, what this type of material does. It comes from a symbiotic relationship, and as I've said before, and I'll get into detail throughout this video, it has to mimic human life. It can only do this whenever it has something to work off. So I have a few clips that I want you guys to take a look at. First up being Spider-Man.
31011 of a residence, 738.
That's okay. Oh, no, they're not responding to one. What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? Did you? Where am I? Wow, this feels good. This is something else.
We'll get back to Peter Parker and how he has reacted to the symbiote after you see him essentially succumb to it. There are another number of things throughout this that kind of showed what happened whenever he got more involved with the symbiote. It's an artificial intelligence, something that isn't of this world. I have another clip I want you guys to check out. It's from this movie called Phantoms. It was in 1998. There's a scene where you see this thing self-replicate, and they sort of hint at the entire environment being a replicated place. It's very strange, but just check it out.
brought here, Dr. Flack. Do your research. Write the gospel. Go.
It's here! It's everywhere, all around us!
Oh, Jesus.
Flesh. Study it. Write the gospel. But do not try to leave. Witnesses to the miracle.
So, were you guys able to notice a few things? Whenever it was done assuming its form of being a human, it went straight back to being the black goo. Or whatever that oil is, whatever that substance is that can mimic human life. And as I've said, I'll get into this because there's actual research going into it as far as what programmable matter is. But one more clip, let's check on Peter Parker and see how he's feeling as far as succumbing to the symbiote.
It's Brock, sir. Edward Brock, Jr. I come before you today, humbled and humiliated, to ask you for one thing. I want you to kill Peter Parker. Parker.
And we're able to see what happens whenever the symbiote takes on or assumes full control over Brock. This is what happens whenever an essentially extraterrestrial, or at least an artificial intelligence, comes into contact with humans. And this matter, it has its own consciousness, it has its own genetic and DNA structure. And as I've said before, we're going to take a look at what happens whenever we start talking about programmable matter and how it's an actual reality.
An organism is a very complex thing. Genes are more like colors on a painter's palette. They get mixed. So if you change a gene, you're not going to just get the trait you're after, but you're going to change a lot of other things too.
Well, this is exactly the point of synthetic biology. That's why we're working bottom up. We really want to introduce the culture of engineering and not just mixing things around without knowledge. It's a little different if you're selecting for traits rather than engineering them in. We already select for 7-foot-tall basketball players. If we actually start engineering them, maybe they'll be 12.
The human organism is a general purpose organism. We adapted for adaptability. Every one of us has a vast range of possibilities. So if we go fooling around with our biology, we're liable to diminish ourselves, not enhance ourselves.
This article surfaced whenever I was making this video, and I thought it was very crucial that I import it in here. A team of scientists at the Francis Crick University, or the Institute in London, are about to learn whether their research proposal has been approved by the fertility watchdog. If they are given the green light, the world could soon see the first transgenic human embryos created in Britain within the coming weeks or months. Although it will be illegal to allow the embryos to live beyond 14 days and be implanted into the womb, the researchers have accepted that the research could one day lead to the birth of the first GM babies, should the existing ban be lifted for medical reasons. Now, we're talking about the idea of having designer babies and synthetic biology. And the point I'm trying to make with all this, with all these ideas, including the black goo, is the fact that we're entering an age where we are literally able to create whatever we see fit. And as far as what that means for humans and where that's going to take us, that's still unknown. So I have another clip coming up for you guys. It's from Transformer: The Age of Extinction, and they subtly hint as to the origins of this black goo or this programmable matter. And it's not until they're able to give it quote-unquote instructions that it's able to do the things that they would like for it to do. And the reason why I keep bopping back and forth between this technology and the transhumanism aspect of creating GMO babies or designer babies is because we are now messing with the very fundamentals of what we can consider our reality. I meant to have a cutaway and a point in this video where I could show you that while they're developing this type of material, CERN is quote-unquote looking for the God particle, the graviton, the Higgs boson. And while this is all occurring, just keep that in mind. They're trying to essentially create the very matter which creates this universe, while simultaneously saying and declaring publicly that they're looking for the building blocks of this reality. And that's a theory in its own self. But right now, I'm just going to have you guys take a look at this clip and see what's going on, see what they're able to do with the idea of programmable matter.
Why can't I get in touch with you? Don't you realize what the Arctic Find means? You know that story we were all told as children about a giant asteroid that struck the Earth millions of years ago and wiped out the dinosaurs?
Hey.
We were wrong. This metal caused the Great Extinction. How and why, I can't yet say, but carbon dating puts it at 65 million years BC. This ore you've got us digging for is a lot more dangerous than you think. And my people...
Joshi, I think that you've been out in the field for far too long. Why don't we discuss dinosaurs over dinner? Ribs?
Not a chance.
You have no idea what's been happening here. We're about to make the quantum leap.
A rare earth metal. Molecularly unstable. Industrial uses? None. And then the aliens came, and we made the connection. It's what they're made of.
It's the Holy Grail. Transformium. That's what we're calling it.
Focus grouped. Catchy. Trademarked.
Yeah. This is the greatest advance in modern physics since the splitting of the atom. Programmable matter. And now we've mapped its genome.
Aye.
Now you've mapped its genome.
Now we can begin to give it instructions.
This is extremely good. Watch this.
We can change anything into anything.
Sensual almost, don't you think? Do you like music? The pill. Perhaps something a little more violent?
Oh my God, you've done it.
In aerospace, the military, we will own the entire robotics industry. All exploration. The oceans, space, everything. Wembley, what is this?
The jellyfish commercial you wanted? You said they were erotic yet deadly like women.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
I definitely heard you say it because you were talking about your ex-girlfriend who was sexy but a bitch.
Please don't eat on the tour.
Is that her?
So there were a number of things throughout this short little clip that kind of piqued my interest. Number one being the fact that he looked like Steve Jobs, okay, and everything he was doing looked very scientific, etc., etc. The fact that I chose this particular picture to show him somewhat staring back at the consciousness of this material, this digitized material that can reproduce itself as a speaker and then as a gun, means that that's high alchemy. Okay, that's higher science. That's advanced technology. The fact that it's literally able to transform its composition. That's not simple. That's alchemy. That's turning lead from gold. That's turning plastic into metal. It's transformium, apparently. The idea behind it is that there's a consciousness, because it's no longer a solid or a liquid or a gas. It literally changes its constitution, and the fact that it's programmable and can receive instructions from this person who obviously has malicious intent is crazy. I didn't go over the third part that I wanted to, and the second part as much, and I'll do that in a follow-up video. So let me know what you guys thought of this. The idea that there is programmable matter out there, the fact that we have the capability to essentially reprogram the atom. Let me know what you guys think. It's always great hearing from you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. And as always, take a look at all the other things we have going on the page and on our YouTube. It's fantastic. Send me a question at my email. I'll have it at the bottom of all this. So stay vigilant, guys. As always, expose lies and share truth. This is Freedom Faction, out.